Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Hump Day. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners to Wednesday, where it really is your choose your own adventure story. Will it be a good day? Will it be a bad day? The choice is yours.
I'm choosing violence this morning.
It's Wednesday.
Yes. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, let's jump right into the stories while enjoying my morning cup of brew. What did you make for me this morning?
I made you a rooibos and chamomile tea, along with some cinnamon and vanilla.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a 4 out of 5.
Yeah,
I like that.
It kind of reminds me of a horchata, but in tea form.
Yeah, actually. A lighter, softer version of a horchata.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really good.
I got my flavors on fleek. Boop.
Oh, God, that word. It's been a minute since I've heard that one.
For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for not taking the whole day off for sister-in-law's wedding because she didn't make me part of it? My wife's sister-in-law, is getting married on Saturday this summer. I have a shaky relationship with sister-in-law, as she jokes about me during family events. Humor is one thing, but these tend to always be negative jokes about my character. Because of this, I have always thought that she doesn't like me. I was waiting for her to possibly ask me to play some role in the wedding, since my wife is maid of honor and our only son is ring bearer. The couple did not ask me to play a role in any way. I asked what time I had to be at the wedding, and I was told noon. I work a 12-hour shift on the wedding day, so I decided to just take 6 hours off so I could be there around noon, but I still have to be up at 4 the next day for work. I found out from my wife that sister-in-law and future brother-in-law are extremely upset and have been intentionally ignoring me since they found out. They told my wife that they expected me to take the entire day off. I work 12 hours every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because they think of me as a brother and assume that I just want to be there for the rehearsal, dinner, morning of wedding, and wedding/reception. Them not asking me to play a role, especially with my wife and our son having roles, confirmed for me that they don't like me, so I felt no obligation to take the morning of the wedding off, of which I have no part. I work 12-hour shifts, and taking one day off really cuts into my available paid time off, so this played a factor in my decision as well. I'm in no way upset for not having a role, and my decision was in no way retaliatory. It's not my wedding, so I don't make the calls, so it doesn't bother me. My wife defended me and told sister-in-law how they have always made me feel in this conversation they had when all this came up, but neither sister-in-law or future brother-in-law have tried to talk to me. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Our son will be with my mother the morning of the wedding, and I am bringing our son to the wedding, getting him in his tux, etc. My decision did not leave my wife responsible for our son and maid of honor duties. That would be horrible. Edit 2. I'm adding this because it's coming up frequently. When I said I was waiting for a possible role, this was not me hoping for a role. It was simply waiting to hear a yes or no so I could schedule PTO accordingly. I do not feel entitled to a role in the wedding whatsoever, and any undertones in the post are most likely just difficulty conveying the story. Am I the a-hole?
Well, I guess we'll get started with this. I think most people could probably understand where our OP is coming from, especially it sounds like an emotional response to not being a part of it. Now he says he may not care as much, but that's not how it comes off. You did care, and most people would. Now, I think I probably would have gone about it a different way, because I guess we'll start with this. There's a wedding. It's his sister-in-law and brother-in-law. He says that there's always been kind of this undertone of them not liking him, and he's felt it throughout their relationship. The wedding is coming. His wife is the maid of honor, and his son is the ring bearer. And then he's kind of left out. And then he says this confirms it, that what he's been feeling about their relationship has always been that way. I definitely would have gone about that a little bit differently, because it sounds like he assumed a lot, although he was correct in it. I'm not fighting that. I'm just saying everything prior to it being confirmed, because then they have a weird reaction to him not taking a full day off for them. I don't see why they would have. If he's not going to be invited to be a part of the actual wedding itself, I don't see why it's a big deal that he shows up when it's supposed to happen. They just assumed that he was going to be happy to be a part of all the other festivities. But I think that was more to cover their bases when it came to his wife. Because obviously, if one partner is being excluded the way he is, it's not going to feel good when their sister's around, especially for the sister, right? I mean, you're clearly going to be putting a weird vibe in the air by having that situation. And I think that's what they didn't want. They wanted ROP to just suck it up and go along with all of it, regardless of how he feels. They verbally confirm what he has been assuming the entire time, right? They attack him for not taking the full day off. And then when they were confronted about this problem by OP's wife, they just ignored it. That speaks volumes. I like that she defended her husband. It kind of sounds like they have made sure that even though the relationship seems very strained, that they have not let that affect his wife going to the wedding and his son being the ring bearer. I understand them. They have the right to pick who is and who isn't a part of being in the wedding. That's fair. But when you're addressed and all you're doing is ignoring someone, I think that's when there's a problem. Because now you put this weird thing in the air, right? It's the elephant in the room where you can't look by it anymore. So you either choose to just go along with it or you don't be a part of it at all. But see, they're still taking the high road because he's still coming to the wedding. He's still taking a half day. Out of his PTO, like he says, that's 6 hours he's going to take out. So initially, I may have thought about the story and said maybe he's being too sensitive and they just didn't pick him. Like they didn't want him a part of the wedding. That's just how it works out. But again, it's the ignoring the question that bothered me. If you're going to be like that and expect things out of people, you definitely need to fill them in on why it is you're treating them that way and not expect that everyone just look the other way.
I can understand that.
I definitely believe that ROP is not the a-hole.
Well, the consensus is he's not the a-hole. In fact, there was a commenter that actually put forward that there's not really a specialized role for a brother-in-law unless you're like typically close to the couple.
Yeah, or you're a best man.
Right. And if you're not really that close, then you really shouldn't have to be consigned to utilizing more than technically just being there for the wedding itself.
Yep.
And that's kind of it.
Like I said, I think they were just trying to cover their base to make the sister feel good that the husband was still around and relevant.
Right.
But that's disgusting that they're trying to cover their treatment of him by just having him be around. They knew that if the sister was around with the son, that it would make it a weird vibe. I just don't see why they would treat someone like that and then expect them to spend all of their PTO for their day. Get off your high horse. No one is entitled to your time.
Especially when you're just invited to the wedding as a guest. Well, let's go ahead and go on to our next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that her feeling sick all the time is because of her breast implants and embarrassing and exposing her because we were in front of family?
Mamma mia.
I, 21 female, have an older sister, 26 female, who is sick all of the time, gets a bunch of rashes, and is complaining about how she constantly feels like shit. She was also diagnosed with an autoimmune disease about a year ago, Hashimoto's disease, I think, and has ever since been blaming literally every single one of her issues on her autoimmune disease, even if the issue is completely irrelevant. She stubbed her toe, it's because of her disease. She's late at an event, it's because of her disease. She doesn't feel well, it's because of her disease. Doctors told her she's probably had this her entire life. But she also 5 years ago got breast implants. And ever since then was when she said she started feeling so sick and horrible all of the time. If y'all don't know, breast implant illness is a real thing. It's very common where women who get breast implants will start feeling sick after getting them. Now, yesterday, we had some other family over at our house because they were in town for a bit. And my sister is doing her usual complaining about how horrible she feels all the time and how it's because of her autoimmune disease. I just got fed up with her complaining and told her that her being sick all of the time and feeling horrible is because of her breast implants, because she didn't start feeling that way until after she got them. Now, she didn't like it that I said that at all and started screaming at me that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just trying to make this all about you, and so on. Me and her went back and forth for a minute until our mother stepped in the room and heard what was going on and pulled me into the other room with her and told me I was an a-hole for saying that because you don't know your sister better than she knows herself, and you exposed and embarrassed her in front of the family. Family members visiting didn't know she had breast implants. My sister kept it very much on the down low to everyone about getting breast implants. So yes, I see how I might have embarrassed her, but truth was going to come out anyways. I really don't think what I did was wrong at all, because I think it's pretty obvious. This is breast implant illness. So help me out here, Reddit. Am I the a-hole?
Well, this is Oh My Lanta. So let's jump into this story. OP is 21, and the sister she belittled in front of everyone is 26. So I guess we'll start from the very beginning of the story. OP's sister has been diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease a couple years ago, but she also says that she could have been living with this possibly her entire life to this point. From what I can recall, that is a disease that has your immune system attack your thyroid.
Correct.
And it kind of has an all-encompassing effect on a lot of different systems in your body.
Yes, you can get fatigue. It can cause menial things like constipation and sensitivity to the cold. Overall, you're just miserable.
Heart rate problems, all of that kind of stuff, if I remember correctly.
Correct, because your thyroid controls all of your hormones in your body.
That's terrible. So knowing this, she gives her sister 0 tolerance. And it sounds like 0 kindness. Because there's no understanding at all coming from her. She is and sounds very selfish and entitled.
Just a bit.
So now they're having a family gathering, I guess, is going on in the story?
Yes.
And OP says now that her sister has gotten this diagnosis, she's kind of used that as an excuse for differing range of things in her life as to why things can't be completed or done on time or whatever it is. She's saying she's using it as an excuse. Now, that's her sister's opinion because she knows nothing about it.
Or maybe she does, but she wants to be the one to diagnose her.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's gone on in their relationship outside of maybe she was pretty jealous about the breast implants because it kind of seems like that's where this is all stemming into. So let's fast forward. They're at the family event now, and her sister is complaining in front of the entire family about whatever's going on. And I guess OP has had it up to here with all of it. So OP has a quip back to our sister in the story about why she's feeling bad. And she says it's because you had those breast implants, which is not something the rest of the family knew at this point, nor should they have been privy to it because it wasn't their business, unless OP's sister wanted to tell them, which clearly sounds like she didn't want to. It should have been done on her time, not on OP's time. So that sucks. And then obviously at that point, an argument ensues. So they go back and forth till the mom pops in and drags them both out like the children they've become. The worst part about this story is the OP doesn't see that they're wrong in any way. That it was her business to let everyone know exactly why she thought her sister was feeling ill. You need to grow up. But yeah, ROP is definitely the a-hole. And I feel bad for your sister that you disclosed something that was very personal to her to the entire family.
Well, the consensus is that the poster is the a-hole. But, the truth was going to come out anyway. So.
God.
In the comment section, a lot of people came forward and said autoimmune diseases for sure make you sick. And people actually listed all of the side effects that Hashimoto's can cause her sister.
There's a lot.
It's not a fun disease to live with. And it really is truly none of her business to have ever had to tell her family something that was so private from her sister.
Definitely.
If anything, a lot of Redditors actually expressed how much that they've had to endure because of some of their autoimmune diseases. And some of the most simplest things, such as remembering where you put your keys or where it is that you've placed a bank card, can seem like a daunting task because your body's so fatigued from what it's going through, even when they're on medication. And when some of them are on medication, they have to deal with side effects. So for her to downplay what her sister's going through, a lot of people put her in her place in apparently you didn't Google what Hashimoto's truly does to your sister to at least find out the basics.
Yep.
And instead you went out of your way to look at what implant illness does so that you could go ahead and tag that as being your sister's main thing.
Again, jealousy probably played way more role of that in that than we know. But good, I'm happy. It sounds like Reddit gave her an earful.
Yes, they did.
Hopefully she learned from it, though.
I hope so. Well, on one of her very first comments, she actually put, when I did my research on her disease, I learned that the disease affects your thyroid. That has nothing to do with how she feels sick at all.
Oh, no.
So clearly she doesn't know how important the thyroid is to the body. She did get a little defensive. In fact, telling one of the commenters, "Are you blind?"
Yeah, that sucks that it sounds like she's just being ignorant and okay with it.
Well, let's go ahead and leave her to stew alone because that's exactly where she's going. And let's go ahead and see what's happening at this next wedding. Am I the a-hole for telling everyone exactly why I allowed at my cousin's wedding?
Odd title?
A little odd, but let's go ahead and read into the story.
Okay.
I hope it gets better.
Me too.
I, 20 female, have a cousin, 23 female, who just got married to her boyfriend of about 2 years, 21 male. He proposed to her about 4 months ago, and they had their wedding 3 days ago. One thing about me and her husband, we dated in high school for about 2 years. We broke up on good terms. We just didn't feel in love with each other anymore, and we stayed good friends. And then in college, my cousin saw him at a party and then started going out a few months later. I was fine with them being together as I have no romantic feelings for him anymore. My cousin found out him and I dated in high school because one of our mutual friends was making a joke about how he was moving through our family. I didn't tell her because we weren't that close. I thought she might be a little shocked, but would get over it. Oh man, I was wrong. And then 2 days before the wedding, I asked her what time it's on. She just looked at me and said, "Oh, sorry girl, you're not coming." Of course, I asked her why. She just answered, "Look, you've put me through enough hurt knowing you're in love with my man. Just be a good cousin for once and stop trying to steal him. If I don't want you at the wedding because you've had an intimate relationship with my future husband, just respect that." I felt so hurt because I spent lots of unpaid time helping her and I spent my own money on her wedding and now she won't even let me go. So I got pissed and left, and then I sent her a text saying I want my money back. She said no. I said if she doesn't give me my money back right now, then I'm telling everyone why I'm not able to go to her wedding. Keep in mind, I spent hundreds of dollars on her wedding. She still said no, I'm not giving it back. You can tell them I don't care. So I did. I was pissed and hurt she would do that to me. At this point, there is only 1 day until the wedding, and I posed on Instagram, I let my cousin date my ex-boyfriend. Tomorrow is their wedding, and I'm not allowed to go because I was with him first. She saw that along with loads of other people from my family. They knew it was about her. The family was super mad with her for that, and she came crying to my apartment, calling me a no-good beeping snake. She told me that because I was such an a-hole, people were dropping out of the wedding. I didn't mean that to happen. Am I the a-hole? Okay, I got comments about this that made me realize my storytelling is crap. So here you go. 1. Letting them date. Okay, I don't mean it like that. I don't believe I own him. It's just I wanted to try and make what I did seem justified, but it's not. And that was wrong of me. 2. Family dropping out. Just found out only my parents and siblings left. 3. Her boyfriend jumping from family members being an a-hole move. He didn't know we were cousins until we met at a family party, and I said it was fine when he asked. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
What a spicy meatball. So let's see if we have the facts. OP is 20 and her cousin in this story is 23.
Correct.
Okay. Very interesting, but I'm sure this type of thing happens more often than we know. OP's cousin is getting married to a guy she dated in high school, but it was only for a little while.
2 years.
Okay, not a little while. That's a little bit. Oops. But they said they broke up amicably. And Fast forward, everyone's now in college. Her cousin meets him at a party. They did not know about being cousins.
But sparks fly.
Yeah, and that's what happens with love. But she does say that he comes to her and asks for permission.
Yes, when they see each other at a family party.
You know, he asks if it's okay that he dates her cousin. I think that's pretty cool. I guess he wanted to start that relationship on the up and up. And she says, yeah, that's fine. Everyone's being adult at this point. I guess now the cousin, though, did not know they dated in high school. Upon finding that out, she turns up the jealousy meter all the way to 10. I guess she didn't bother to ask OP anything, because the thing is, you can date someone, you can break up with them, and it can be amicable. It does not have to be anything outside of that. But the cousin did not see it that way. The cousin seems to think just because they dated in high school that she still wants her man, in her words. Because the thing is, our OP sounds very level-headed. Now, some of the choices she made after everything kind of sucks, but
I feel like that was more emotion-driven.
Cousin finds out and then completely boots her out of the wedding, even though it sounds like she has put several $100s into this. Because it's her cousin and she wants her to have an amazing wedding. That's great. I think she was only looking at it through love and trying to help. But the cousin was not about that life. And then that's where everything kind of changes in the story. She requests the money back. She's been told no. Now P threatens to disclose this fact with everyone as to the reasonings. At that point, the hurt of... Because I think it had less to do with getting the money back and more the shunning. Because I'm sure most people wouldn't appreciate that over something so trivial. So cousin says, no, I'm not giving you your money back. And then her response to that is, I'm going to tell everyone what's going on. So she does. Now, in response to that, OP's family pulls out of the wedding. That obviously had a big effect on our cousin. And because then her cousin comes crying to her about how she's ruined her wedding. I gotta say that if she had just listened to our OP for 1 second, she would have understood that there's nothing between her and her future husband. Yeah, in this case, I definitely don't believe our OP is the a-hole.
Well, the overall consensus is that she's not the a-hole. In fact, some commenters asked why it is that she gave money for a wedding with someone that she's not particularly close with. And she said at the time when they were in high school, they weren't close because they didn't live close to each other. So there wasn't like a lot of that contact.
Okay.
But it seems like later on in college, they were able to sort of pick up a relationship. And when the wedding was coming down, her cousin had asked family members if they could assist with the dress and the venue. And in order for the family to sort of pitch in for the wedding, they put some money in. Our OP was very honest with saying that she just wanted to just be a good cousin.
Yeah.
She wanted to be closer to her cousin. And she thought this was one way of doing it. Overall, the viewpoint was the cousin shouldn't have accepted the money from our OP unless there was an understanding right at the get-go that she wasn't going to be invited to the wedding and this was just to help.
That's true. That's why I said I don't like the reaction after the fact.
Yes.
But I can get why it happened. We're talking about 20-year-olds. That was how she showed her support to her cousin, and then her cousin turned her back on her because of someone she dated in high school.
Which is an awful thing to feel.
100%.
Well, let's go ahead and leave this little family fiasco behind and go on to our next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my wife if her sister doesn't wear a bra?
These stories are just going to keep getting better.
We were at a family dinner last night on my wife's side. The last few times her sister has come over, it's been apparent, at least to me, that she wasn't wearing a bra. I'm not leering or staring, and I didn't think anything of it. People can dress how they choose. I know there's been a growing trend with women to ditch the bra, especially since the pandemic. The night was very normal and casual, and it felt casual enough that on our drive home, I asked my wife if she thought her sister was going braless these days. She mumbled a response that she didn't know and then stopped talking to me for the rest of the night. She opened up to me at bedtime, telling me how creepy she thought that question was, that she couldn't believe her husband would ask such a violating question, and that it was none of my business to know, and that she finds it disgusting that I'm staring at her sister's breasts at a family dinner. I tried to explain that I meant absolutely nothing sexual by it, that it was a passing comment, that breasts are a part of the body like arms and legs, and that you don't need to explicitly stare to know they're there. On my side of the family, we are open about everything. Humor is the approach, and nothing is really offside. My wife's family is more formal, and I blurred the lines here between the two sides. However, I did not expect I would get this intense response from my wife. I think I understand now that I was being insensitive and didn't use the best judgment asking that question to my wife. 4 beers didn't help, but I think my wife's perspective on it is reaching for extreme meanings that are just not there. Where's the truth? Am I the creepy and violating? Is she overreacting / being a prude? Or somewhere in the middle? I'm less concerned about knowing if I am the a-hole or not, and would like perspective on how to resolve this with my wife, help her to understand I'm not a creep bag if that's the case, and move on. Am I the a-hole?
What a splendiferous story for Wednesday. So let's get into the facts of the story. OP is attending a dinner party that's for family.
Correct.
Now, I guess he notices during this dinner party, as he's serenading us with this tale about 4 beers in, that his sister-in-law is a part of the braless movement.
Correct. Or at least he's assuming that she might be.
Yeah.
Well, he just tries to be sure.
Yeah, he needed to confirm that she was a part of the movement. And then he needed to let his wife know that on the car ride home.
Apparently, he's just an academic and logical man that's very caring and just wants to know for sure.
For science. All he wanted to do, strictly academia. I understand it, okay? But I don't. Because it's your wife's sister that you ogled at the dinner party. I love how he tries to explain it away by going, look. The pubes, they're just like arms and legs. You see them. That's fine. No, your wife definitely felt violated for her sister and herself because you did clearly step over a boundary. You are the skis bag you're trying not to be. I can appreciate you telling us the truth, though. You know, I'm kind of shocked because, see, again, he does this thing where he tries to explain it away. Well, my family does things with humor, and a lot of families do that. But I doubt they do it with the humor of talking about their sister-in-law's pubes with their wife. I don't think a whole lot of people do that kind of thing. I would hope not. I don't know where that's acceptable or who accepts that from their partner, but you've been living a different life. So yeah, you're definitely the a-hole.
Well, the consensus is that the OP is the a-hole. In fact, there was quite a bit of comments, quite a bit of funny comments in my opinion. Sort of made me laugh, actually. One of them being particularly of, I guess I could go ahead and ask my own sister-in-law about her breast implants and use academia as an excuse.
For science.
For science.
Milady.
There were other comments that's just like, why would you think that it's okay to ask your wife this? If this is a question that's so uncomfortable, you wouldn't even go up to the sister-in-law to ask this.
Yeah.
Other commenters say, you know, this is wrong on so many levels, and then you just showed your wife just how wrong you are on so many levels. If anything, some of the commenters were saying that it really is none of her business if she's trying to be a part of the braless movement or not.
Yeah.
That's sort of the end.
Why even bringing it up in conversation? That's none of your business.
Unless the sister-in-law decides that she wants to bring it up in conversation.
Sure.
Then the door's open. Even then, that would be really weird. Well, that was pretty exciting. A very different family dinner that turned a little sideways.
Yeah. He exposed himself for the creep he is.
Oh, yes. But let's see what's going to happen to our next story and our last of the day. Am I the a-hole for calling my sister-in-law and brother whores after my sister-in-law insulted both me and my wife? My wife, 34 female, and I, 47 male, are staying with my parents, 72 female and 71 male, grandma, 90 female, older brother, 50 male, brother-in-law, 48 male, their kids, 10 female and 7 male, younger brother, 40 male, sister-in-law, 38 female, and their kids, 9 male, 7 female, and 4 male, at a beach house we rented for 2 weeks. I should preface this by saying that, frankly, I do not get along with my younger brother, Todd, and I do not like my sister-in-law, Anne. That said, I am civil with them, and while I don't see them often, I do love my niece and nephews. Yesterday, my wife, Alice, and I were babysitting all of our nieces and nephews while my grandma napped and everyone else went to see a movie. Now, once we got here, Alice and I baked cookies for everyone to eat. We baked them later in the evening, and Anne, who works as a personal trainer, told her kids that they couldn't have any. The kids were upset, of course, especially since their cousins were allowed cookies, but Anne was insistent that they weren't allowed any at the time. She and Todd are generally quite strict with the kids' diets. None of them have any food allergies, and to my recollection, they have only been allowed a popsicle once this past week. While everyone was out, one of the kids asked Alice if they could have cookies, and so we gave them all some cookies to enjoy. When everyone came home, Anne asked the kids what they did, and one of them mentioned that we gave them cookies. She then told them to play on the beach, where they were watched by my older brother and brother-in-law and were joined by their cousins. Anne then proceeded to get very mad. She started off just saying that we shouldn't have given them cookies because she hadn't said they could have them. Alice started to apologize and say we just wanted to let them enjoy their vacation, but Anne interrupted her and told her that she didn't trust a fat ass with her kids' health. Now I was absolutely livid, and I told her to shut the fuck up. The argument spiraled from there, and at one point Anne said that she should never have trusted two psychos with her kids. Alice and I met in a therapy group 11 years ago after we were discharged from the hospital for mental health concerns. Though I'd like to emphasize we weren't there for anything that would ever even imply that we'd put anyone else in danger. I then told her that it was rich for two whores to think that they could ever raise morally healthy kids. Anne was originally Todd's best friend's wife, and the two had an affair during which their oldest child was conceived. Then Anne and her husband had what sounds like a rather messy divorce. She then started crying and left, and our family is a bit divided over this. I realized that I was very harsh, but so was she, and I do not think it was her place to dish out what she couldn't take. So, am I the a-hole?
A spicy meatball of a lot of family baggage. Don't throw rocks in glass houses. So, we'll start with this. ROP and his wife are watching the kids while the rest of the family goes and watches a movie.
Correct.
They baked cookies. The adults come back. And in this story, the sister-in-law tells ROP her kids are not to have those cookies. So the day goes on. The rest of the kids get the cookies. And obviously you can understand why those kids would be a little flustered that they didn't get cookies. That's understandable. I'm guessing that's where OP was looking at it from. Because then we go into the next day. I guess the parents go out to do another event. And ROP and his wife are there watching the kids again. This time, though, OP gives the kids cookies that he knows he's not supposed to be giving those kids.
But oh, so delicious cookies.
I know, and I get it. I love cookies too. So, fast forward. Parents come home from their little shindig. They proceed to tell their parents that they had cookies while they were gone. And then Anne was ready. She bends down, looks her child right in the face,
and says, Go play
on the beach. And it was at that point, ROP knows he'd fucked up. I know he watched that encounter happen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. See, that's where he was wrong.
Please don't leave children.
Yeah. Kids go out. It sounds like now the house is vacated outside of Anne and OP.
And his wife.
I think OP is wrong from the start. You can't give kids that aren't yours things that their parents said that they can't have. That is not your call to make. I understand it though. From outside looking in, you really did just want to have the kids enjoy their time and have cookies with their cousins. As a rational person, I can understand that point.
I mean, I would want that.
But you also understand that their mother has a strict diet that they are on. Good, bad, or indifferent, those kids are not yours.
And if anything, if you thought that they were being mistreated, that definitely would have been in the story.
Yes. Although her words were terrible and laying into you like that was immense, you clapped back and said your piece on it.
Cheers.
I mean, everyone's wrong. Everyone's wrong. You guys are very toxic. Your family sounds oh so lovely. Because it's one of those things where everyone's probably walking on eggshells, I imagine, and everyone's just looking for a reason.
It's those fake smiles.
Yep.
I can't understand how people
will all be kind to each other because no one wants their dirt thrown at them. I would hate to be around people like that. That's not family. But I guess I'll leave it on this note. Honestly, everyone sucks in this outside of the kids.
Well, the consensus is everyone sucks here. In fact, a lot of people said it's pretty fresh that the sister-in-law would talk about trustworthiness when clearly the relationship didn't start that way.
Nope.
In the end, they said everyone was wrong a bit here. Just as you said, he was wrong to go ahead and give cookies to a kid where he knew the parents were pretty strict on how they eat. And at the same time, her reaction when it came and what she said was definitely uncalled for. His clap back to it, they said, well,
that's understandable. Again, you want to throw rocks?
Be prepared.
Yep.
Although it was funny, some commenter said, it was really wasted how you had this comeback. You should have saved it for something better than this argument over children and cookies.
Well, hopefully they don't have to have another one and they can all realize that they need to either fix it or they don't need to be around each other going forward.
I agree.
I can't imagine being around that type of toxicity. That can't be healthy for anyone.
Oh, no. This family sounds like there's a lot going on. And with already I wouldn't say animosity, as it's more of just the dislike for each other.
Oh, yeah. There's high amounts of that.
I think it's messed up because the sister-in-law hit on two different points before our poster actually
she was ready
decided
for it.
to. And I think for me, it shows just how toxic she is. If anything, no matter what the reason was that they went and both met each other in a hospital for their mental health, it doesn't give her the right to call them psychos.
Yeah,
there's
was uncalled
100 reasons and one as to why it is that people would put themselves into a hospital to make sure that they're mentally okay.
Yep.
And what I see in here is if she was so willing and ready, not only to hit on the comment of our OP's wife being a fat ass, but then calling them psychos, those to me show me that she's insecure about those two things for herself.
Sure.
And for her, it was just using them as a punching bag because she's trying to exert control over her kids and how other people deal with her kids. And that to me just reeks of instability. I mean, your relationship was founded on an affair. That first and foremost shows where you are mentally when it comes to relationships.
We'll see the clap back really shows you how she feels about that anyway.
Oh, the shame.
Her response to it immediately was to cry and go. I understand the whole point of getting upset about someone giving food that you said not to your child, but the reaction to it was disproportionate to what had happened. At that point, it's a cookie. You talk about it rationally because you're adults, but there is no respect between them. There has not been, because you wouldn't, if someone you respected, you would not come at that situation with that 100% at the start. You can escalate it, but there was no escalation. It was just straight, I'm at 100. So that was the last one?
That's the last one.
All right. Good way to end Wednesday. Family drama.
We try.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
As always, listeners, we love hearing your opinions in the comments below. What was the spiciest meatball today for you?
I don't know. Academia man is, he probably is, that's just different.
For science, milady. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.